Hi. So we're going to go through a little bit of an introduction to Lightroom. We'll talk about how to make your catalog, where to save your files, how to name your files, and probably how to spit them back out. There's also a PDF that follows along with this. You can get to that via the class website, bradfarwell.com/teaching152. And then up at the top, shared resources. Where are we here? Handouts, Lightroom handouts. And here are basic workflow. So some of that is talking about kind of outdated stuff. Calibration for FIT Max, you don't need that because you're not on campus. But it does then get into starting out with Lightroom, which is where we're going to pick up. So go ahead and pull that off. I'm also using some demo files that you will need to do as well. Those are in that shared resources file. Also, I think they're under sample files. I shouldn't have closed the web browser. I could just look. But they're just some random old pictures that we will be bringing in week 2 importing files demo. I'm going to put them right there on the desktop so that I have easier access to them. All right, so get to Lightroom. Down here, bottom of my screen, Adobe Lightroom Classic, whatever it's called, right? Like, I don't know what it's called at this point. It should not be the mobile first version, which I think is just Adobe Lightroom CC. I think it's Classic that we're using. Whatever it is the bigger, more complicated one that is meant to be run on a laptop. So when you open it up, you will get a dialog box of some sort, right? Mine says, hey, where's your catalog, dude? Yours may say, just pop open the last catalog that you had. If you did have something, it may give you a dialog box that just says, select from these previous catalogs or create a new one. What we want to do, I'm going to say use default catalog. You can sort of open whatever you want because the next thing we're going to do is create a new catalog. So we're going to create a catalog that is what we're going to use for our entire semester. So it's very important, A, that you do this right, B, that you know where it goes. File, new catalog. When it does this, it will close out the old catalog, right? Adobe Lightroom can only have one catalog open at a time. Pops up a dialog box asking me what I want to call my new catalog. This is important. I'm going to call it BLF, those are my initials, 2020 PH152. So my name in some form, a date in some form, and then the class. That's what we want. So whatever your initials are, use those. If your initials spell something you don't like, right? You're like, I don't want all my pictures to be named something, something like rat something, something. That's annoying. You can just use your first and last initials. Sorry. The reason I don't want to use my entire name is that gives me a really long, unwieldy file name when we start naming our pictures that we bring in. So initials, year, 152. Where to put it, if you have an external hard drive, will end up with it on your external hard drive. For the moment, I'm going to put it on my desktop because that's easy to find and I sort of know where it is. Don't put it in the pictures folder. Hate that. Don't put it in some weird Lightroom folder deep in your hard drive. Hate that. We want to end up with it somewhere we know where it is, and a second copy will end up stored wherever you back your stuff up. So BLF 2020 PH152, cool. When we hit create, it will actually make a folder that this goes into, so you don't need to make a folder to put it in, right? That's a classic mistake that I made all the time when I was starting out. Ask me about backing up the catalog that I have open. No, I don't care about that. And here we go. So pops up this thing, and this is sort of your general layout of Lightroom. There is a big area in the middle that is whatever we're working on. There is a panel on the left and then there's a panel on the right. Typically the panel on the right has controls for whatever module we're working on. Up across the top, it has a list of those modules: library, develop, map, slideshow, and print. You may have others like book. If you right-click or control-click on there, you can check or uncheck some of these. We want at least to have library and develop. We may use the other ones later. If you want to leave them up, all of them up, that's fine. Doesn't matter. But we don't have any pictures in here because we just created it. So the first thing I want to do is bring some pictures in. Now, I'm going to be bringing in the demo files that you guys have also presumably downloaded. That's going to be one way of getting pictures in, but I'm going to show you, if I go here, down here to the lower left corner, import. If you don't see import, make sure you're in the library tab. Import. This looks a lot like where we just were. That's super annoying to me. If I could make them do anything, I would have them change the way the UI operates. I would make this window like blue or green or sparkling or something, so that you realize you are now in a different window. So right here, on the left, this is where we're bringing our pictures from. Right now it is saying it's going to bring them from my phone. Not what I want. I wanted to bring them from my camera. So I have my camera plugged in, and boop, there it is. An ancient 5D Mark II. And when I have that selected, spins for a second and then brings up thumbnails of all the images on my memory card. Again, I'm not going to bring these in right now, but just so that you see how that works. Basic stuff in here. All the images start out checked. Anything with a check mark will be imported when you hit import. If you want to uncheck all down here at the bottom, you can go back through and select individually the ones that you're interested in. That's fine. You can also go back to check all and uncheck the ones that you are not interested in. Generally speaking, when we bring in files off our card from our camera, bring in everything, right? Bring it all in, get rid of it later. Related, your camera's card should only have the stuff that you just shot. It shouldn't have stuff that you already have on the computer. Don't save stuff on your card. It's bad practice. Okay, so that's how I would bring things, or how I would get things that I'm going to bring in into my import dialog box. For purposes of this, I'm going to use those demo files that I had you download. So I'm going to go up here to From, click on that, and in this drop-down it has the devices that are plugged in, my phone, my camera, and then it has a list of places you could go. They're on the desktop, that's true, but I don't want to look at every single picture on the entire desktop because that's a lot of stuff. I'm going to go down here to Other Source. From Other Source, I'm going to go to my desktop, and I'm going to go looking for those files. Week 2 importing files demo, that sounds right. Open that up. Here's a bunch of files. I'm going to hit Choose. So, much more manageable number of images. So here's a bunch of pictures that I shot sometime in the ancient past. I want to bring all of them in, so having them all checked is totally fine. I could, remember, uncheck some to get rid of them. So now we have the files that we're bringing in. Good. So this part is taken care of. That whole left side of the screen we can now ignore. We're coming over here into the middle, right? So copy as DNG, copy, move, or add. You won't be able to do add if you're bringing them off your camera. Copy as DNG is what we want to select. So copy as DNG brings files in, and where it can, it converts them to Adobe's DNG format. It's sort of a more universal raw file. So instead of having NEF, CR2, CR3, whatever they are, ORF, it will be a DNG that's a little bit more universally recognizable, a little bit more backwards compatible. There are some downsides, but they are, to my mind, not significant. So DNG, if you're bringing in something that isn't a raw file like a JPEG, you won't be shooting JPEGs for very long, but it will just not convert them. It'll still bring them in though, so that's fine. And then, so now the middle part is done, right? They're all checked. We said D and G. We can ignore the middle part, and we go over here to the right side. Now we want to say, where are we going to bring them to? Where are we going to bring them? So right now it's going to pictures. Oh, no, no, don't bring them to pictures. Click on that, other destination, right? So I just came over here, clicked on it, other destination. And I'm going to go to wherever I saved my Lightroom catalog. Now, if you're asking yourself, where did I save it? Already failed the class. Make sure you know where it is. I put mine on my desktop. There it is, BLF-2020-PH152. I'm going to open that up. There's a bunch of Lightroom catalog files that it needs. Come down here, click New Folder, and I'm going to make a folder that is where all of my images are going to go. So I'm going to give it the same name, BLF 2020-152, and I'm going to put on the end of it raw. That's not because only raw files go in there. That's because this is the raw source material that all of my sort of editing is going to happen to. So if I had JPEGs, they would also go in there. If I had movies, they would go in there. So again, your initials, a dash, the year, a dash, PH152, a dash, and raw. Hit create. So there it is. There's nothing in it. Go over here, hit choose. Awesome. Cool. Now we're going to run down through this right side pretty quickly. File handling. Right, most of the stuff we can safely ignore. Build preview standard, yes, sure. Build smart previews, not quite yet. You can do that later, and we probably will. Don't import suspected duplicates. That sounds right. If I had already brought something into my catalog and then I put my same camera, same card on there, and for whatever reason I had forgotten to delete or clear out that card, I wouldn't want to bring a second copy in because then it gets confusing, which is the one that I've done the edits to, blah, blah, blah. Don't make a second copy. We'll back it up ourselves. Then add to a collection. We don't even know what that is yet. File renaming. Yes, we want to rename the files. These have gibberish names, right? Underscore MG8024. What's that? I don't know. Doesn't tell me anything. So let's rename them. So yes, I want to click that. Template. Come down here and let's go to edit. So again, that was template, edit. Now, what template are we going to use? What information are we going to have? I want that same stuff that we just put in there. So my initials, the year, PH152, right? So again, all the files will have the same basic name. Right? Then more stuff will happen to them. But they all have the same basic name. That helps with organization. That helps with trying to find stuff. That helps with knowing where something goes. It helps you to know what something is associated with, all this good stuff. BLF 2020-152, a dash, and then after that, I want to insert a sequence number. So if you're working on a PC, the way that this is represented, there'll be like brackets and stuff, but the structure is the same. Right, so you'll have some text, then we're going to insert a token. That token is going to be a sequence number. So click on that. I'm going to put in 4 digits, so 0001, because I think it's unlikely I'm going to import more than 9,999 images into this 152 catalog. So I hit insert, and then it pops in right there. Right, if I decided, no, let's go 1 digit more, I could do that. But yeah. Sequence number, that's great. I want to make sure it looks like there's a space there. Nope, no space. I'm going to go ahead and instead of hitting done, I'm going to come up here and say save current settings as a new preset. And I'm going to say PH152 import naming. Cool. Okay. So now under file renaming, template, PH152 import naming, I can just select that the next time I bring stuff in, and I don't have to go type all that stuff in again. Start number, this is important, right? We said sequence numbers. It's going to start with whatever we have here. We're starting with 1 because this is the first stuff we've ever brought in. The next time I bring stuff in, right, I'll check and see, okay, what's the last number of the last file I brought in? If it's 150, right, then the next one I bring in, I would want my start number to be 151. But first import, start number 1, apply during import. I'm going to pause for a brief second because I want to make sure that I am following the handout. All right, so apply during import. Develop settings, those would be sort of adjustments that are automatically applied. None. Metadata, let's make a new metadata preset. Right, so again, how did I do that? I went down there to metadata, clicked on it, and said new. I already have some in there. We're going to make a new one. This is going to be my PH152 copyright preset. So this is, metadata is everything in your image file that is not pixels, anything that is not part of the picture. And one of the things that we want in there is our contact info so that when someone runs into our file, they know whose it is and they can get in touch with us and pay us lots of money. So to do that, name that copyright preset. I'm going to come down here to IPTC copyright. And I'm going to put copyright 2020 Brad Farwell. Copyright status, copyrighted. Rights usage terms, all rights reserved. Copyright info URL. I don't know. I put my website there. I'm not really sure what I'm supposed to put there. Creator, right? Brad Farwell. Address 1234 Anywhere Street. Because I'm not going to tell you where I live because you can come to my house and steal my cats. City, Bronx, New York, 10452. Right, obviously you should be putting in your own stuff, not mine. Phone, email, website, put those in. I can give you my phone number. Okay, so cool. So there we have IPTC creator, IPTC copyright. We want those in our copyright preset. Once we've filled that stuff out, I'm going to come up here and save current settings as a new preset. I just did this. Cool. All right. And oh, I could have just hit create instead of saying save settings as a new preset. So I'll hit cancel. But there it is. All right. So we've got our copyright data. We've got our file renaming. There is one last thing that we need to do before we can hit import that is so important. Please, please, please pay attention to it. Destination. Now, what yours shows by default, I think, is what I just changed it to. So destination, I think it will say into subfolder, and I think it will say organized by date. We do not want these. I want to uncheck into subfolder, and where it says by date, I want to say into one folder. Please make sure you do this. Once you've done it once, it should keep that after your first import for your subsequent imports, but keep an eye on it. If it starts doing it by date, it will cause no end of problems to me and to you. Okay, so we're good, right? Where are they coming from? I'm importing those things from a folder. What's happening to them? I'm bringing them in as DNGs. Where they're going into that raw folder. I'm renaming them. I'm applying my copyright information from a template that I created, and I'm making sure that they are going not into a subfolder and that they are going into one folder, not by date. So go ahead, hit import, and they're all checked also. And then we'll catch up on the next clip.